Started the business over 35 years ago. A lot has changed over the years, but one thing still remains the same.
Our passion for fixing cars. With a team of over 12 men and women, they work day in and day out to provide us the best quality service possible.
From light and heavy duty vehicle repairs and maintenance work,
diagnostics and racing transmissions,
performance parts and Jeep upgrades,
automotive detailing,
used car sales,
and towing through our sister company, AC Towing.
Our team has the knowledge and understanding to solve all your vehicle needs while putting your mind at ease.
Experience the Ogilvie difference.
It's worth the drive.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to episode 34 tonight. You're going to see a small change up as we get into this one. So my name's Andrew Stirk. Normally, my buddy Brandon Barker is bringing us in off the commercial to start us off, the sponsorship commercial, but it is me this week, and I am joined by Brandon's better half, and it's a fair assessment. He's not here to say anything different to me or yell at me. Rachel Barker. Rachel, welcome. I've been looking forward to this for over a year of being able to do a broadcast with you here. You're always behind the scenes being producer, Rachel, making sure we've got our right notes and everything else, but
that's right.
Star.
You guys have been bugging me to come on the show, and I always said I'd never do it. And then here we are. Brandon he's in Texas, just flying in now. I think he's rolling through customs, so I'm sure he's got it up on his phone. But yeah, I swore I was never going to make a debut on here, but I don't know. I just decided that Here we are. We'll see how it goes. So excited to be here. And it's also ironic that tonight's sponsor is Ogilvie's Auto and Fleet Service. So although I am a Barker now, I'll always be an Ogilvie. Huge shout out goes out to my parents for sponsoring this week's episode. For those who don't know, they are an automotive garage located in Jasper, and also provide a lot of the high performance racing parts kind of around our neck of the woods. So if you guys are looking for, any FTI performance, we got some Portatree stuff now, Jones transmission pumps, K&R, we got lots of good stuff going on. So anything that we can help you out with, just reach out to us or Brandon, and we'll get you hooked up.
Race Star Wheels.
Yes, that is the newest one. I can't believe I forgot. Yes, if you're looking for wheels, Race Star Wheels is the newest partnership there.
Yep. And I wouldn't even say in the area. I bought a converter off you guys not long ago for Ian's whip, and we're pricing one out for one of our buddies right now. So it's the FTI converters.
Converters and transmissions are definitely like the hot commodity right now. Everybody's getting ready to go back, into the season and getting everything freshened up and new parts. So it's a busy time.
Absolutely. I keep waiting every day for the Purolator guy to show up at our place for parts that we get in for our customers out here, and tires. I'm waiting on Mickey Thompson tires. It's killing me right now because they're on backlog just like they are every year. So it's like every day, just I see him roll by and goes by the shop. I'm like, no, it's another day. But
yeah, we should know this by now. Order in advance, but you think you have time, and then all of a sudden you look and you're like, oh my gosh, I think we're what, 4 or 5 weeks out now from our first race here. So the countdown is on.
Yeah, we can actually touch on that. We'll probably hit up the master schedule to get the first few events across Canada highlighted later on here. So we'll be able to confirm that start date here in a little bit, I think.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, we can roll into the Canadian countdown. I can kind of start I guess, in our neck of the woods. So in Ottawa on Saturday, just before Easter, we all got together at Buster's Bar and Grill for the Lustville Dragway drivers meeting. And it was great to see everybody. I honestly haven't seen anybody in a long time. And of course, it was the first time I've seen everybody since the big announcement of me taking the season off to start our family. So it was neat for us to be able to be there and, see all of our friends and hear what's going on at the track this year. So that was awesome. And then we did a practice tree race after that. So it kind of, reminds you that you need to get back on the practice tree again before the season. You're like, this is not going as well as I thought. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's always a good opportunity to hit up and find out whether anyone's been practicing or who hasn't looked at a tree at all for several months, right? So
yeah, exactly. But no, it was a good time. It was great to see everybody.
Excellent. I think the practice tree thing's making its way in because Grand Bend did their drivers meeting a couple weeks back, and they had the practice tree going at their meeting as well after the meeting. So
Yeah.
This is Luskill's paving the way here for a new format, right? Hit the drivers meeting up and then hit up the practice tree afterwards. So
Yeah, I think it's
yeah,
great because like we're all competitive and everybody's just like ready to go. So yeah, you're gonna go, you're gonna have a couple drinks, see all your friends, but then
yep.
you also, you want to throw in 20 bucks or whatever and compete against your friends because what else do we do?
Yeah,
That's
get
what
your
we do in our spare time.
why not, right? It's such a long winter too, and I can't emphasize this enough. I talked to some of my American buddies. Like I've had a few guys from down south who've already been out a couple times here and there, like sporadic. They had to head south a little bit, just like us, but much not as far south. And it just they don't comprehend sometimes how long it really is between that last race and I mean we're not even
Yeah.
at the first one yet, right? And it's still several weeks away, but it's nice to get out, see everyone. I mean, even the practice tree race that you and Brandon put on, right? It was great to get out and see everyone and just break up
Yes.
and have some fun and bench race and you know just have some motivation leaving somewhere ready to go racing because it just seems like it's forever. But
I agree. And I already feel like that was so long ago. Like it's just like it really does feel like a century long when you're waiting for like when
yep,
you're in that off season. Like I remember thinking in February, oh, we're getting close, we're getting close. And like
yep.
that already felt like a million years away. And
Yeah,
we're still a month out.
exactly. There's been a few visa bills between now and then, right? And we're still not at race season to actually do
Yeah.
anything.
And my
Uh,
car's still not ready.
yeah, no, and I'm still waiting on parts myself, right? I got a
Yeah.
transmission back to get put in, but here we go. We'll roll down the rest of the list here. We got a few track update announcements, which is kind of cool. So TMP, Toronto Motorsports Park, Cayuga Dragway, just a couple days ago, I guess,
Yeah.
Saturday, I guess. One of those rare weekend press release announcements. The new timing system's coming to them. So Portatree, full system going in. It sounds like they're in the works of doing it like right now. Like this week, it's being strung and wired, if I read it correctly. So that's exciting. New scoreboard set up. They've had a couple of scoreboards that have been lightning attractors for a few years and been through a rough stretch. So new
It's
equipment
about
coming.
time.
It is. Yeah, it's nice. It's great to see the reinvestment, right? I mean, we talked about Grand Bend getting a new system with AccuTime. We've talked about different updates across different tracks across Canada and the US, right? And it's great to see these type of reinvestments. I mean, you don't reinvest if you're looking to get out. And there's always that habitual conversation about tracks
Yep.
closing up. Well, no one lays down 30, 40, 50 grand to, tear it all back out. Right. So it's fantastic to see on that end. Always looking for news for our Western track. So I picked up on this one. Mission Raceway's got a new time slip app for the 2023 season. So similar to the Napierville, Shannonville, Galat Motorsports Park, Bradenton style online app. They're moving online with their app system. One of the neat things I noticed from that was they are going to run a kiosk beside the towers. So if you're still looking for the printout ticket, you're still able to go get it. But
That's
the
neat.
the ticket window aspect is long gone. There's no more, puke bucket tickets. You just take your phone and smash it. I guess I don't know what you do now with
Yeah,
an online one, right?
but no, that's great because I know, like, the first complaint they always hear is, "Well, what if I want a paper ticket?" Well, they've already eliminated that complaint right there, so that's
I like
awesome.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, me
it's
too.
a neat solution to the problem that I know has come up. So
Yeah.
that's some of the updates from some of the racetracks across Canada. We've got some results, albeit we're still hanging out on the PDRA and NHRA level for to some extent. Right, big money season hasn't started in full fledged. Other than we will talk about the million in a couple minutes, but Canadian season hasn't kicked off. But PDRA had their season opener. We talked about it on the last episode that it was coming up. Well, it's come and gone. Pro Boost, pretty good numbers. Spencer Hyde, World Series of Pro Mod champion, hit the track again at Galat, as well as Scotty Wildgust in the Smokies Garage, Kenny Lang, Eric Latino, Melanie Salemi. Spencer managed to get it into the field, record field. They were, it was mid 60s, 360s, I think, to bump into that 16 car field. It was fast. Melanie ended up being in the number one spot, taking the pole with a 358. And she paced the field. They had a rain delay, so it moved them into a Sunday finish, which is 1 day later for PDRA than what they normally run. But she went from the number one spot all the way to the final, ended up winning it. Pro Street saw Nick Agostino. We touched on talking about Nick a bit and the combination he's working on in the 10-5 class. He got in at the number 6 spot and got down to the final 4 on Sunday. Elite top dragster Kyle Harris bumped into the number 9 spot, and unfortunately, with a tough first round exit, nothing like running up against the former world champion in round 1, Pete Maduri. And unfortunately, a 007 breakout puts him on the trailer, right? But what a way to start the year. Run into world champs. Ryan Harris. This was kind of neat. I don't follow junior stuff as much, just mainly because it's not a class I'm allowed to compete in, apparently. So Ryan in the 790 field, so pro junior dragster, bumps in at number 5 spot. It's a 16-car field. There's 46 junior dragsters trying to bump in on a 16-car field. He ended up getting to round 2 before virtually losing on a whole shot loss. But great start to the year for them. We're going to jump from one coast to the other, actually. We're going to go same weekend, I believe, NHRA at Pomona. So other side of the world. The Winter Nationals, which is now the 3rd race of the year versus the normal kickoff race of the year. They started in Gainesville this year and then went to Arizona, then Pomona. So a little bit different. I'm not even sure, is the Winter Nationals the right name when it's technically spring when it happens?
I always get confused. Always.
Yeah, it
So-
was winter when it normally starts, but this year it's now the Winter Spring Nationals. But,
And technically, we kind of had snow or hail last week, so you really don't know.
well, this is valid. Not in California, though. It was beautiful down
Yes,
there.
that's fair.
A lot of Canadians, actually. Stock, Super Stock, saw quite a few. Top Sportsman, Top Dragster. There were some Canadians down there, so good contingent making that West Coast swing on the start of the year. Sean Cowie was one of 2 Canadians racing for a Wally on Sunday, which was exciting. He was number 1 qualifier in Top Alcohol Dragster, was putting up a dominant performance. I don't think at any point going into the final round, he had run any slower than 5:20. He'd been the 5 teens. He was low ET at 5:16, highest mile an hour at 281. And unfortunately, the one round that he has a bad pass on is in the finals. Joey Severance outruns him for the title at the Winter Nationals. The other finalist at the Winter Nationals, Tim Boychuk. So our Western racers, well, Canadian racers will know Tim. Tim's raced Top Fuel Dragster at events across Canada. Funny car. He was running in the Legends Nostalgia Funny Car class. He got there to the final on Sunday and ran up against former Top Fuel regular Corey McLenithan. Corey used to have the Fram Dragster, McDonald's Dragster. He's raced for many years, multi-time NHRA winner. And again, another winner because he picked up the W over a very good race. I think Tim's motor expired at the finish line. It's one of those races where it looked like he was running away with it. And then nitro motor doing what a nitro motor does and
Not
just
cooperating.
not cooperating and didn't quite make it, but a good run for him in a very tough field. On a different note, Canadian Sponsor got into the final round and won at the Winter Nationals. So Rad Torque Systems, they are on the side of Dallas Glenn's KB Titan Racing Pro Stocker. So Dallas is a Northwest racer. He runs for KB Titan now, or what was former the Ken Black team with Greg Anderson. So Dallas picks up the W on a very good race, seeing the Rad Torque guys make their way to the Winter Circle Pomona before everyone jumped in the bus and drove, I don't know if it's down the road or up the road or across the road to Vegas. I don't know which way that is.
But
Everyone
it's like
knows.
it's somewhere in that like area.
Yeah, it's like 3.5 or 4 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the bus got loaded up after the Winter Circle at Pomona, and Rad Torque ended up in Vegas, as well as Dallas. He picked up a ride there, so he went from running NHRA Pro Stock one weekend to going for $1 million purse 5 or 6 days later. So
That's
was
awesome.
kind of neat. So that's Pomona. We will touch on more news. The 660 Sportsman Nationals. So
Yeah.
Rachel's going to pull up the magic of
Let me see if I can figure this out.
putting you on the spot here now, right?
Yeah.
So 660 Sportsman Nationals announced their Toronto Motorsports Park event. So that's the June 16th to 18th. We've got the flyer there pulled up now. Flyers posted. We've got 3 days of great racing coming at us from Drew and Vicky. They've got the purses set up on like a high roller on Friday. And just so everyone's aware, the high rollers are open for entry. So if you need more info on this, you can find this on Facebook on the 660 Sportsman Nationals page. But if you're looking to get into the high roller, which is 10 grand to win, or the box roller, I'm I'm not sure what to call that one, but it is, I guess, like the low roller. So $5,000 to win on the box side. No box, $5,000 to win. Junior, 5,000 to win. Stock, super stock, $5,000 to win. These are all the specialty 32 car shootouts that are going to run on the Friday night. They've got kind of a Friday box, no box kickoff at $2,000 to win for box and no box, or separate classes. And then they'll roll into their normal 7,500 to win Saturday, Sunday. Box races, no box will be running for 2,500 there. Junior dragster, free entry on the main event, 250 to win. Stock, super stock will be there Saturday, Sunday. There's going to be a Saturday night high roller gamblers race, so it's a box, no box combo at 250 to enter. So a little different format than we've seen in the Grand Bend events, but nonetheless still a great setup. And again, the shootouts are open. So if you haven't phoned in yet, haven't contacted them, message the 660 page. If you want in on the 32 car shootouts for the Friday, which would be the 16th, I'm good at doing math and dates. Get a hold of them because there's only 32 spots and they're going to fill up. I believe
this is your warning.
This is the warning, right? And I think what they're doing for the box and no box is they're holding off doubles. So if you got to pick high roller or low roller, and then at May 1st, if they're not filled, then they'll allow anyone to double up. But they kind of want to try to keep those two fields separate to give everyone a shot at getting into something on the Friday night if they want to get in on it. I don't think there's any limit on the no box side if you're already in something. So if you want to run no box or super stock, I guess have at it, right? Something like that.
Absolutely. Well, there's definitely a lot of money out there to win. So
yeah, it looks good. I mean, it's like the 7,500. It's I think it's 40 cars guaranteed. So if they get 100 entries, so this is the Saturday, Sunday on the box side. 100 entries is going to be $10,000 to win. But as long as there's 40 cars hitting track in round one, 7,500 is guaranteed. So that's like, I mean, that seems like a very manageable number, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. 40, especially in the Toronto area too, right? Like you can pull from, all those areas. So
Exactly. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to get Drew. I tried to get Vicky to come on. She had very little interest in that. And I'm like, Rachel's coming on. You have to come on. How can you not? But she didn't seem to have as much interest as yourself to do that tonight. I'm throwing her under the bus on this after they hosted us.
Now she has to come on. She's not going to have a choice. She has to talk to me because if I can do it, she can do it.
Exactly. Yeah. You're proving the point here. But we'll get Drew or Vicky or Drew and Vicky on at some point, or Vicky, one of these combinations to run through this with us. And as we get closer to it, talk a bit about it. It's going to be a great weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. The 660 at Grand Bend Flyers coming up here soon too, I believe Drew said. So we'll get both posted out here as we move forward. Which brings us to Vegas, the Spring Fling Million. If you didn't know, there was kind of a big race that happened just this past week.
Unless you are living under a rock, you've definitely heard about it.
Probably. If you have any interest in drag racing, bracket racing in any capacity, you're probably aware it happened. But the Spring Fling Million in Vegas, a lot of Canadians made it down there, and a ton of people from the East Coast, from South. Like, this was one of those events that they talked about, like, let's put a central event on so everyone can go to. Apparently that memo was missed by the world because Maine, New England, Florida, North Carolina, Texas, Oregon, Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC. I'm trying to think here now. I don't know where everyone's from on the list, but
oh yeah, no, like it felt like everywhere. Like I loved when they were showing like when you could see like the reaction times and stuff, because it would show where like what city they were from, and I was like amazed at how many, like they were saying at one point, I think people from, was it Australia or Sweden or something, like they had watching. There was 3 different countries worth of people there, and like it was just incredible to see. I honestly expected nothing less. The fling events are, to me, like I just love them, and after going to Bristol, I feel like, if you're not watching it and you're not keeping up to date with it, then what are you doing? Because Peter really does an amazing job with these events, and it's so cool to be able to see. And it's even cooler when you start to figure out, okay, we actually have, I think there was at least 12 or 14 Canadians there, so it's always fun when you have somebody to cheer for.
Yeah, so we had that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow, there's Travis and Dwayne Ringgoth, Chevy Reeves, Jason Mercer, Monty Beagle, Kristen Groves, Dalton Guru. I probably butchered that. Dan Golby, Eddie Plazer, Lance Shirtchuck, Brady White, Morgan Caron. Morgan held the flag pretty high. She was at round 4 at the million, right?
Crazy.
Got to, what'd she get? Round 6 of the combined Thursday, Saturday 100K.
Yeah.
And I think she had to go through Chevy, I know once, possibly twice. That is a long haul to be beaten up on each other.
And it always happens like that. Like I always remember like when we're going down to all the US races and Brandon ends up getting lined up beside a Canadian and everybody's like busting our butts about it. Like, how did this happen? How did this happen? And I'm sure it was the same thing as them. You don't think you're gonna line up in like the way the lanes are structured, you think you're far apart or whatever. But I thought it was funny because like the first night I turned on to watch, and sure enough, I'm like, were those two Canadians? Of course they were. Of course that's what we would do. So it's funny to see, but yeah, Morgan was definitely on a roll. Like, when you get highlighted on the Fling page, you must be doing well. And I wrote it in our notes here because I wanted to bring it up. But like in the million, she was against Donovan Williams and won with a 0.0000 margin of victory. So that's pretty crazy to be. I don't know what round it was. Maybe it was round 4 or round 3.
Yep.
But anyways, to be in the million and you're winning by that few of a margin, it's pretty neat. So
I
obviously
remember seeing that highlight now that you mentioned that. I saw that in the notes and I didn't think about that, right? But yeah. She was part of the quad 0 margin of victory race, right? So she's like 1 dead 9, I think you have, and then Donovan's 7 dead 3, and it's going just 5 digits.
Ridiculous. Like some of the packages that were coming out of the race, it's like just insane to watch because you don't like. I don't know. For me, I'm just like, this is insane. Like, you always strive to be that good, and then you're seeing it on a consistent level. Like, almost every other pair is like, they're coming up like double O's. But, I always get more excited when, you see the Canadians doing that. You're like, we can lay it down just as well as the US racers.
Absolutely. And you know what? It was impressive to watch. And that's, I guess, the one takeaway from this too is like you watched some realistic runs, like the runs that you're like, I could make that run, right? And go rounds. I mean, maybe that's a good way to kind of kick into this. I know we're going to maybe skip over Wednesday's 32 car a little bit, but we'll jump to Matt Daddis, who won Thursday's 30K. He 676 entries, right? First off on Wednesday to like start things off. So,
and I think that's the biggest they've had yet, is it?
That's what I understood of it. It was like day 1 was the biggest one because it was 671 for the combo Thursday and Saturday, which turned into the biggest. So just shy of 700 entries, right, at the event. And Daddis, like no buybacks, walks it front to back, and he was good. Like there's no question because Daddis is an amazing racer, but he was stuck in that mid-teen reaction time. He talked about it afterwards. The Winner's Circle interview was it's kind of one of those ones that makes you feel like you can do this, because he was very humble about his conversation that like he did not drive amazing. He had a round where I think in one entry he talked about a swing that was just unreal. He was red, like 20 red, like red, right? Comes back up on the second entry, wins the round, and he's 50 something or 40 something. Like it was like a 50 or 60 swing. You know, and he holds on to an entry and he goes, like, I'm still lucky to be here, but he's 18, he's 14, he's 20, putting round wins. And they say sometimes it's just a matter of where you pull into the lanes, right?
Well, absolutely. And I feel like for him, right, like he is a seasoned racer. He's very good at what he does. So, you could pull from that experience when you have like you're 20 red and then you're like, oh my God. And then, you come from a 50, it's easier to recover when you have that experience behind you where like, I know for me, like that would just, I'd be like right off the deep end. Like, you're trying to stay calm the next round to figure it out. But, it's cool to see those guys and they're just like so composed and they know what they're doing and they have that experience behind them. And obviously he can get it done. So that's
absolutely
it's always awesome to see when
and to see they're human, right? Like, I think that's like gets lost sometimes where it's like, oh, he won the race. So it'd be, I guess that was 10 rounds, right? So he must have been like 00 every round. Well, no, actually it was, I saw Luke Bogacki did a video or put something out. I can't remember where I saw it. It must have been through Elite, where no winner of the million or any event at the million has been 00 every round.
Yeah.
Like that has not happened. And
Which is what people think, right? Because I think a lot of the times when you talk about these big events, you think, unless you're 10 or better every round, you're not going to win. But that is not the case. Like you can, you're not going to be double O's every round, but you kind of get the luck where you need it, and
yep, you
yeah,
got to be double O at probably a large part of it to have
yes,
success. But you can sprinkle in some teens and 20s and still get there if
yeah,
the stars align, right? Which I think makes it like more reasonable to think like I don't have to be perfect every run, because evidently
yeah,
nobody has been, right? But
exactly,
that was a neat
exactly.
way to kind of kick it off. Did not get much work done on Thursday, I guess, or Wednesday. I watched Wednesday too. It was a very tough week to get anything accomplished if you have a full-time job that runs 9 till whenever.
Yeah,
But
I feel like I work from home, so like Brandon always like turns the race on, and like it's so loud in the living room that like I can hear it in the office. So like I'm still working, but like I totally know what's going on in the living room.
yeah, we're not missing a beat here, right?
Yeah.
We'll jump back to Wednesday only because I hate skipping over things, right? But it was a good transition to Matt's story.
Yes, for
Um,
sure.
so Wednesday, always the fun day. It's the dragster race day, right? Finalists get to pick, a race tech or an American.
American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 32 car, Dylan Howe, right? 21 years old.
I had
Dylan
to look that
makes,
up because I saw the picture of him and I was like, that kid's young. Like I'll be honest, I hadn't really heard of his name before or knew who he was. And I saw that winner circle picture come out and I was like, who is this kid? Because yeah, he looked a lot younger than me, and sure enough, he's 21 years old.
yeah, I think he's up in Oregon too, because I saw Mission had a post about congratulations. So it sounds
Okay.
like he's raced up a Mission, so Canadian connection, right?
Yeah,
I'll
that makes sense.
take that. We have other ones later on in here too. One that threw me right for a loop too, but great to see. It was fun racing to watch, right? I mean, it's a neat race on like test and tune day, right? So
Absolutely.
it's fun to see how close, like how great the racing is, like right off the bat, right?
Well, and that's it because I feel like it's kind of the first race of the year for a large amount of them that are there. So, yeah, to literally come right off the trailer after, I mean, their off season's not as long as ours, but to come off the trailer after a couple months or however long it was and hit the ground running to get your first win, like
Yep.
that's gotta fire you up.
Well, especially over like Gary Williams. Like Gary Williams he's raced more to this point in the year than I probably will for the rest of the year if I started tomorrow, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's just the reality of it. So to get a win over like a big name like that, right? And I didn't see the path to the final for him there. I know you've got some of it posted, but I mean, like you got guys like Shane Molinari. Um,
Colton Aragon or
yeah,
Aragon.
Colton had a great
His name
week
came up
too,
a
right?
lot, yeah, this week, and I was, again, a name that I wasn't familiar with, but I
Yep,
just kept hearing it over and over and
yep.
over again, and, yeah, so he was in the semifinals on Wednesday, and then he was actually in the semifinals again on Thursday, so
That's right.
yeah,
That's your horse. Yeah. Yeah.
yep,
And it's funny, like you see those guys, they get rolling, right? Like events like this is where those events where you get 2 or 3 people and sometimes they just day in, day out, they're in a zone,
just
right?
figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll jump back. I guess I'll go to the Million because that's the next race after the Thursday race. We're completely out of order. I've botched all your notes up terribly.
That's
Um,
okay, that's okay.
but yeah, so Friday Million. I love the Friday aspect, like that Friday or Saturday big race, right? Because
Yep,
it's I don't know. I mean the Friday one's tough, but being that it's in Vegas, by the time you get to the nitty gritty of really round 3 or 4 when you're looking at a big race, right? Your homework's done because 3 hour difference on east to west, right?
yep,
Um, a lot of fun. I think I told you this in the off air. I was watching and Andy Schmall, who ended up winning the Million, this is the car that if you don't know who Andy is, you know the car because he's habitually in the late rounds at the Fling Million, whether it's in a 30K out of the Pro ET side or it's out of the Super Pro side with the box in it. It's the yellow banana, Beretta or Cutlass, whatever it is. And I think it was round 4 or 5. I remember watching it. I remember told you, I'm like, he's going to win this, but I didn't want to
yeah,
acknowledge it because normally I'm like, I should put money on this. Like
yeah, you don't
that's
wanna
like
jinx it.
no, and that's usually when I'm like, I got to bet on this guy that like the next round he's 125 total, and I look like a goat, and not a good goat, like the other goat, right?
Well, I thought it was so cool too because like the fling always has like all these like really exciting things going on like on top of the race itself. But I'm on the fling text list and it came up and it says like, who are you gonna pick to win the million? And I'm like, I don't know. Like there's like so many amazing people. Like I just didn't know. But then even like, after Andy had won and all the results came out, there was multiple people that had his name there. And then you had to guess like the reaction time too. And it was just like crazy to see that because
Oh yeah.
like out of everybody, which it sounds, again, I wasn't familiar with Andy, but now that he's won, I've come to familiarize myself, and
Yep.
it sounds like he's a very strong racer, especially out in that kind of Vegas area. I guess I'm just more used to all the Eastern US
Well,
racers.
this is the cool thing about these, right? It starts to bring some
Yeah.
names and make them familiarized. Like, I mean, there's a very little chance I'll probably ever run into the gentleman on the racetrack, but
Yeah,
you're fully aware of what he's done and what he's accomplished, and it's fantastic. I mean,
for
it's
sure.
really cool, and like you get the feeling when you watch it. I mean, I've always thought for years sometimes you get a track or you get an event that you just have all sorts of confidence at. Like there really isn't a great reason for it. There's not necessarily any discernible advantage, but there's just an event you don't feel like you can do wrong at. He looks like he races at an event because I think he's from Idaho, so Vegas is not exactly a home track per se, right?
Right.
I think he's from the area if I'm not wrong, but again, not there right now. Every year this guy's there, it's you have to bet on him being in the late rounds. Like I think if you don't, you're just doing a disservice because he's going to be there, and he looks comfortable. He races comfortable. The final, even in the final, I mean, he wasn't great in the final. He was 22. I think he was 10 behind, and it was Kyle Cotrera. Did I get
Yep.
that right? Yeah. All
Yep.
right. I know Arnie would correct me if
That
I was
is right.
wrong.
You can't mess that name up.
No. But like, he pulls it out, right? Like he's 8th ahead, going dead four. And I think, I mean, based on what I saw, it looked like Kyle either got behind unintentionally or, dropped anchor looking for a breakout because for all intensive purposes, it looks like he should have been ahead, right, for the W and ended up being 8th behind. But, Andy looks comfortable at a race. And he's like, I wish I could be that comfortable at an event because you just don't see him phased, right? He went
Yeah.
about just doing his thing.
Especially at an event of that scale. Like you're not,
Right?
you're not just at your local racetrack, right?
Yeah.
You're racing for $400,000
Yeah. Like he looks like he's
and you're
racing for
just
400.
yeah, you're just taking a little joyride down the track, like
Yeah.
pretty
Not
much.
the behind the scenes. They did, there was a few different online websites. I think like Drag Champ did some behind the scenes stuff. The Million folks had a roaming camera, which was, again, their production value of their event. I always love because they
Oh,
go
yeah.
above and beyond, right?
Yeah.
These guys just looked unstressed in the lanes. The splits sound like they went, easy. Did so like it's just kind of neat to see all these things. I will touch on the fact I was unaware of this. You can fill me on this. Kyle
Yes.
Cotrera has been to Luskville. He's raced in
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah,
I was
so
blown away by this.
when I heard his name, I've actually met Kyle, and he knows a lot of us Canadians that race at Louisville. But yeah, I believe it was the bracket that he came up to a few years ago, and I know he's raced against my mom and some of my family members. I can't remember if I've raced against him, but I definitely know like he's been around and he's really good. And since then, like I've always followed kind of what he's done because he obviously is in the US and gets to go to a lot of those races. So, he's always like it's like an honorary Canadian, I guess, because we know who he is and whatnot. So it was really cool to see that and to see somebody in that $1 million event because you're like, hey, I race against that guy. Like
Yeah.
it's just cool. Like
He's been at my home track, right?
yeah,
Like,
because you
yeah.
think these guys are just like for me, you're just like totally fangirling over these, how can they be that good? And I want to be that good. I want to be that focused. So it's cool to, be able to say, hey, I actually raced against a guy who went to the finals of the million.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
yeah.
Right. Like that. And that was the part that blew me away. I was like, I mean, if that doesn't add credibility to what, we're doing up here. And same, with
Yeah.
Dylan, right? When you look at the East Coast racers and everything else, oh, Brandon jumped in here. So we're getting some information from the road.
Here we
Derek,
are.
Derek beat Kyle in the semifinals at the bracket the first year I won the Bonanza.
Okay.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess Derek Malcolm can say that he's beat Kyle Kultura, so
He's
there we are.
there it is, right?
But
I like how
it's
Brandon
cool
had that in
because
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
he had
wants
that
to
in,
add
he won the bonanza, right? Like
yeah,
it wasn't just that
yeah.
Derek
Even
beat
though Derek
Kyle.
beat him, he still
Yeah.
won.
Yeah, I'd like that. I like that. Thanks for
I love
joining
it.
us from the road there, Brando. We appreciate
Yeah,
it too. For those listening on the podcast version of this, Brandon's traveling at the moment from Great Texas Adventures and still joining us in the comment section.
that's right.
Which also, if
Well,
you're out there listening, feel free to comment just like Brandon here. Follow the action we got going on, right? So
yeah, total side note, his flight was like way earlier than it was supposed to. It landed like half an hour earlier. And so when he texted me, I was like not like expecting him to, have landed yet. And I was like, "You can still come on the show. Like you can still trade places." And he's like, "Oh no, you got this."
yeah, like Duke
But
can't wheel the car home and Brandon on the road. Like,
well, so
am I?
Daniel's actually still there. So his poor dad had to go up and get him because
Oh,
I was
Daniel's in
supposed to go
Toronto.
get him. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I was supposed to go get him. And anyways, I was like, "Sorry, I got to do the show." I was like, "You got to find your own road or ride home from Toronto." So
we know who the committed one is here for
that's
the
right.
podcast. We know who the committed one is. I'm only
He
saying this
might be
'cause-
the face of it, but I'm over here.
yeah, Rachel hasn't missed a show yet, right? That's the key part.
That is
So,
true. That is true.
so yeah, we'll
But
get back onto the million side of
that's
things.
right.
Yeah.
Back on track.
But yeah, so that was the million, 364 entries. Biggest spring fling million. I mean, that's a huge number, right?
Yeah.
Like when you look at the West Coast side of things too, right? Like you know, that's a lot of cars. I know the West Coast is it's more sparse than the East, right? There's not the per capita numbers. So to see the numbers they've got out there for that event was fantastic. Because the other semifinalist was an Ohio native, Brian. I always get Brian's name wrong. Brian Suridu. Yeah, I probably butchered that.
Oh yeah.
Right. So Brian off the bottom. Like I got to admit, I'm watching Andy, door car guy here. Like, I mean, not knowing that Kyle essentially was a Canadian by
Canadian. Yes.
extension, right? I'm cheering for my door car fellows. I'm cheering for my bottom bulb door car, racers and Brian from Ohio. And this is the same guy that a couple years back drives all the way out to Vegas to run this and has his truck, trailer, and car stolen while
No way.
he's coming home, I think, right? So the fact that he drove back out there is gutsier than I would, because if I've ever gone through that experience, because they recovered it all, like they got it all back, I believe, or at least
Oh
the car and
wow.
the trailer, right? Goes back out. And Brian had a great week too. Like he went rounds every round, like every race. But to get to the final three off the bottom and put up a great run, like he
Yeah.
made Andy work for that run. For that round win in the semis, right? Unreal, but kind of neat to see that top bulb dragster, top bulb door car, bottom bulb as the final three,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And not to give him the final. I mean, Brian had to go a few rounds against some top bulb stuff to get there, so it was a hell of a race to watch. It finished over 2 days. I remember we were joking about that. Like you said, is this race going to finish today? And it was definitely a no bueno, not happening. Might finish today for us because of the 3 hour difference, right? But they
Yeah.
finished at 12:30, I guess, or sorry, could finish for them in the same day, but it still finished at 12:30 Saturday morning. It was
Yeah.
a long race.
The time change had me confused.
Yeah,
I did fall asleep before the million winner was crowned, but first thing, like I woke up, I was like, "Oh my gosh, who won? Who won?" I was like so sad that I fell asleep, but
I know I couldn't make it. I had to watch it all the next morning. Like I got
yeah.
as far as I could and went back, found the replay, and just picked up where I was while making breakfast and doing everything else. Right. So no Facebook to start us off. No spoilers. Just
If
picked it up and
only
watched it.
yeah, if the time change would have been like the opposite, they would have been like ahead, not behind,
Yeah, we
then
would have been okay. I
yeah.
couldn't. Apparently, you get a 5-year-old and try to stay up late. It just doesn't happen anymore, especially when they start
Yeah.
at 6. So it wasn't
That's fair.
happening for me. Um, Thursday, Saturday, so technically Saturday, 100K, which was a neat format too. They combined their 230 granders, and then just because the car count was so ridiculous, kicked in an extra $40,000 to the winner. So
Totally
instead of
insane.
racing for 60, it's going for 100, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I again, like when I woke up to the news that they had changed the race, I remember you had sent it in the group chat and I said to Brandon, I was like, "What's the big deal? I don't understand it." He's like, "They literally added an extra $40,000 to the pot that they did not have to." Like that, from a promoter standpoint, that's profit, that's your
oh,
profit that you've made. And like
yeah.
that's just like, again, it goes exactly to Peter, Emily, and their team of just like how amazing they are that they felt the
Yep.
need to do that and to keep it what it was, because there could have been a lot of people that complained about it. But I think, the second they made that announcement, not one person, is upset about that.
Yep. I don't. Yeah, I think under the circumstances, I mean, again, we saw it in Bristol where there was a car count that just was unachievable, right? To deal with, right? So what do? They do the best they can, change
Yeah,
the race up on the fly, right? This was just another evolution of that, where okay, we're going to put two together instead of just putting two together to make a 60. Here's 100, make it special,
absolutely.
right? So that kudos to
Yeah.
them. That's
Well, and I think, like, for me personally, like, having experienced Bristol, like, obviously I didn't race, but you guys did, and I was there. It makes so much more sense because you don't realize, like, when they say, "Oh, you have 650 cars," or whatever it is, you're like, "Oh, yeah, no big deal." No, you have to get every one of those cars down the track multiple times a day,
yep,
and then, like, I remember at first, like, when we had got there and they had decided, like, the no buybacks, like, that was a huge change,
yeah.
and so I thought it was cool this year because correct me if I'm wrong, but in this one, did they allow a first round buyback?
So what they did on this race, yeah, they changed this format to allow the re-entry round. So
Yeah.
the 2 days, basically, they spent one day just running everyone for round one
Yep.
and a re-entry round, and then actually finished Wednesday's race on Thursday because Wednesday was still only
Right.
down to 7
Yes.
before they had to call Wednesday because of just they apparently ran out of time. Who'd have thought going 671 cars deep or whatever the number was.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got buyback re-entry in on this one. So basically Saturday just picks up in round two, in traditional two goes down, one come back format at that point, right?
Yeah,
But
I thought that was awesome. Like
yeah,
I personally I really like that change. Like I know if we would have been down there, I feel like that would have been cool. Because it could be hard. Like, and again, I think when you're not there, you don't realize how long it is in between each rounds. Like,
yeah,
when you're in round one and there's 600 and some cars to get through, that's 6 or 7 hours that you don't
yeah,
have a run. And then if you lose round one, well, now you don't get to race till the next day. So at least when you have that buyback or that re-entry round, you
yeah.
at least get a second shot down the track because you didn't even get a time trial in the morning. So
Well, I
I
like
think
it.
it very helpful.
Oh, 100%. And to be honest, the single entered side of things, right? I mean, that's one of the things I think when you have that, I mean, when you're doubled, you've got two cracks at round one with no buyback. If
Yeah.
you're single entered, which, because they divided up in the groupings. So for those who
Yes.
aren't as familiar with the fling, like they break down where group A is single entered door cars. Group B is basically anyone double entered. Like no, sorry, A is double entered. B is single door
Door
cars.
cars. Yeah.
C is all the double entries again. So basically your second entry, and then group D is single entry dragsters. Well, if you're in group B or D, you get one crack. Like
Yeah.
without buyback, there is no fall back to that. So to change the format up to go with the fact that they allowed re-entry, I mean, I like that because it gives the single entered group the feeling that at least there is a second chance. The double entered group, there is a second chance. There's always a second chance because guess what? You have two entries, whether you're
Yeah.
wheeling two cars or the same car twice. But that was really fair. It was really cool to see that. So, you're there with one entry. It didn't force you to get into the second entry. It didn't force your hand to go, well, there's
Yeah.
no
I need to
buybacks.
double. Yeah.
Yeah, now I need to double, right? So a smart move again, right? On that one. Some familiar faces. So by the Saturday grouping, you got some different names coming up, which was kind of neat. Quarterfinals are seeing past double $1 million champion Jeff Verdi, right? He won the OG Million and the Spring Fling in the same year. West Coast hitter Dennis Paz. Dennis is Vegas is one of those tracks he does well at as well. Super stock racer, super gas racer. You see him a lot of the time at the Vegas national events. You might see him this weekend for the NHRA National, depending on what he's hanging out and doing, going rounds. Dylan Howe back in there. Jason Lynch hanging out in that crowd as well. So again, some different names at this point, right?
Yep.
Like a little bit of variety going on there. But at the end of the day, Dylan beating up on Don Sefton in the final. Dylan going 11 dead 8 for his second win of the week. And
Crazy.
yeah, just 671 entries, right? So, just an unreal week, right? A fun week.
Absolutely.
I always look forward to the millions, right? The OG Million, the Spring Fling Million, even the Great American Bracket Race when they ran their $1 million race. Like those were highlight races to me, right? So really exciting to see those
Absolutely.
events. So we're looking forward to the next. What is the next big race?
It's
A
in a
lot.
couple weeks. Like,
2
yeah.
weeks, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. Like, I was looking at the schedule today and I was like blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, just about the time you finish this one, they got to go
Yep.
do it again. So
Yeah, I
it'll
can't
be-
imagine going from the West Coast. Like this weekend is a reset, and
Yeah.
they've got to get back across, get set up at Galat. I know there's Canadians heading to that. I've talked to a few different folks from
Yep.
up our next to the woods. I don't know if there's as big of a contingent as Alberta and Alberta, Saskatchewan, I think BC sent, but
it's
we
probably a
got
bit
some going.
farther for them for sure.
Yeah, they always support that event big, right? Western racers, like traveling is not something that they're scared of because
Never.
a local race is like 5 hours away when you get out there, right?
Yeah.
So 30 hours in the bus to head to Vegas is like, well, it's
I realized that real quick when we went to Alberta last year racing, and I was like, "Oh, what's your closest racetrack?" And some of them were like, "Oh, 12 hours." And I was like, 12 hours? I was like,
Yeah.
"Mine's 3." Like, that's insane.
yeah. I
So-
think twice about a track. It's like it's more than 10.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
to drive for more than double digits in hours out
Yeah.
there. That's normal. So
And we're planning those trips for weeks. Like,
Yeah.
we're checking routes. Where's the
Oh, yeah.
gas stations? Like, it's not if they just jump in the truck and go. They don't
away
care.
they go. Absolutely. So we should have some Canadians heading to Galat to be able to cheer for. At the very least, some extension of our friends in Western New York I know are heading. So some of our adopted friends heading down there. So it's going to be exciting to watch that one next on that. Maybe that's a good segue. We'll jump into some of the events coming up here. I've got the Canadian Master schedule up for off of the Bracket Life website.
Yes.
I hit it up once in a while because it gets me excited to think about what's coming up here and where the season's kicking off for stuff because we're getting so close. Like we're just what's today? The 11th. So
Yeah.
1 month and 2 days. If you're in Central Alberta, you're kicking off the race season. If you're in Edmonton, right, May 14th, you're kicking off your race season. Right.
Yeah,
So
that's
these
true.
are things. Miramichi 2-4 weekend. It's these are all coming up. Luskville's kicking theirs off with the opening on 2-4.
Yeah, that's our
Super
first race.
Tour. Yeah, like we're just a little over a month away. I have nothing ready to go for 2-4. We're probably going to go testing either at Toronto Motorsports or Grand Bend to get ready for the Super Tour opening
Yeah, are you guys
race.
coming?
Yep,
Naperville?
we're heading to Naperville. I've got,
Nice.
I think if everything goes well, we got only Labor Day is the only Super Tour event we might miss because we're planning a
too.
bit of an expense. Yeah, you've got other reasons that are much more extenuating to possibly miss that one, right?
Yeah, this is like the craziest year for racing planning of our entire life. Like you ask Brandon and he's just like, I don't know what to think because we've never missed a race weekend ever. Like it's just like not in we
The
just don't do
equation.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like very odd this year that, basically the middle of August and September, which is for Canadians, like
Yeah.
those are some of our biggest weekends. Like
Some prime racing still.
yeah, like those are all of the big races. And so, the potential for us to not be there, it's like, it's definitely going to be worth it. But like right now, we're like, oh, it's such a bittersweet feeling.
Yeah, I do remember when we had this issue, like we were going through this, going like when are our due dates, and we fell
Yeah.
on April, and I'm like, that's fantastic. Like
Oh,
I'm gonna have a couple months to get this
Yeah.
all figured out, right? And we'll have everything set up to go to the racetrack. And then when you told me like your September, and I'm like, that
could have planned that one better.
that didn't work out as well for you guys, unfortunately. But there's still
No.
tons of racing lead up. Like I'm looking at the June schedules, right? Just a ton of events between Miramichi, Luskville, Rad Torque with the Top E series, right?
Yep.
Was talking to some of our friends from out east or out west, sorry, and that's an incredible series in itself. Pays back so well, right? The Top E. They've got the heavy metal series that pays great. That runs at Rad Torque. I see my wife is watching. She's tuned in tonight. I got
love
comments.
it.
Yeah,
We got all the ladies' supports tonight. I love it. We never see their comments. So
we've tapped into a different demographic here. I love this.
That's right. That's
I
right.
think we're gonna have to move this around a little bit more. We're gonna need producer Rachel becoming co-host Rachel more often, right? So
that's right. Have to make
It's,
more appearances.
absolutely, we'll get all three on here. Wise, you don't need to be producer Rachel all the time, right? Keep Brandon
Yeah.
in line.
Yeah. We can invite Jess on here. She's more than welcome to come on.
Absolutely. That scares me. I can feel the bus warming up behind me to get driving over me on that one, but I won't say no. I just won't make an appearance the next day because I'll probably feel terrible about that one. So. But anyhow, so we're coming up on that hour here. I think we covered most of the things there. We're looking to do some questions from the audience, but the Spring Fling kind of went through pretty good. It was some good conversation, a lot of fun stuff that we got through on that one.
That's right. We'll have to save the questions for another episode.
I think
guess
so.
that means I might be coming back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Jess responded back. She's good. Thank God. I mean, that's too bad. That's too bad. But we're okay with that one. So that's, yeah, if you get a chance, hit up the Bracket Life website. There's the master schedule. So it's similar to, for those of you who see Michael Beard's master schedule for bracket racing, which also does include Canadian bracket races for those looking for an overall schedule. Brandon and Rachel put together a great one here for Canadian drag racing that features events from across Canada, coast to coast. And,
I believe I think when I was doing it this year, there was over 120 events, which is always mind blowing because everybody says there's not much going on in Canada, but there is plenty happening. So
ton of stuff and a lot of everything, like NHRA National Opens to large exhibition races, like the events at Cayuga, Grand Bend, Rad Torque put on are gigantic. I don't want to leave Mission out. I just sometimes not as familiar, but like National Opens that you get at Medicine Hat, Saskatchewan International. I mean, you guys go through the gauntlet looking through all the tracks and getting all the big events. And it's incredible to see all the events that take place across Canada. Door Wars at Mission. That's always the one I struggle to think about, but that is a huge race out there, right?
Yeah, I have heard about that one. Again, yeah, same with you. I'm not as familiar with what's going on, but slowly but surely I'm learning.
I'm going to get more familiar and follow more this summer.
That's right.
I've followed a lot of the tracks out west just to see what's going on. That's where I found the Mission update for this episode. But it's amazing, like how big some of the races are out there, right? And just how many there are. I mean, it's amazing how many tracks are in Alberta. I never realized that. Like, it's sparse. They're spread out, but there are more than we have in Ontario. Which,
for sure.
Look at the population size; is kind of incredible, right? But
I would have never thought. Not at all. Same as even like I love looking out at like Nova Scotia, New Brunswick too. Like they actually have some really big races out there too, which again you don't think about or you don't hear as frequently when we live in Ontario, but there's a lot happening.
Like, class racing is out there. Like I know I've touched on that before, and it's another one of those redundant messages from the Department of Redundancy, right? I think that's it's an NHRA announcer quote there, but like, class racing is so huge out east, right? Like I feel like I live in the wrong part of Canada at times because that's just right up my alley. But it's amazing when you start to learn more about what's going on up here and just how diverse it is and how much stuff there is. It's incredible. So
absolutely. Before I was just gonna say before we wrap up the show, do you want to let everybody know what we're going to be chatting about in 2 weeks?
Took it right off the top of my head. That's exactly where I was going with that next.
Perfect.
So we've been kind of hinting at this for a little while. We want to talk WDRA, right? We've track meetings for Grand Bend and St. Thomas taking place. They had John O'Neill from the WDRA at the meetings talking about the transition from IHRA to WDRA. Shannonville this weekend, I think, is the drivers meeting. I'm sure Chuck will be talking about it there. I'm not sure if John's going to be there, but the next episode on the 25th. No,
yep,
right?
25th.
Yeah. Oh God, I got that right. That's amazing.
You got it.
25th. We're going to have John O'Neill on from the WDRA. For those who've raced a bit in the IHRA, you might remember John. He was the Division 3 and Division 5 director. Great dude. Solid guy to talk to. He knows this stuff in and out. They live and breathe racing. He'll be coming on to the show. We'll be talking WDRA. There's 3 tracks in Canada right off the top that joined onto it. I think it's got momentum to be something big. They speak about it very highly. If you ever get John's voicemail, I left him a voicemail, one of the greatest voicemails ever, ending on the fact of, don't let the man bring you down, right? Like just solid advice after you leave a message.
That's amazing.
But we're looking forward to talking to him. I think it's going to be a fun conversation. I listened to him online at the Grand Bend drivers meeting. Fantastic speaker. Guys excited about what they're doing. People are excited about the WDRA. I am excited to talk to them about what they're looking to do and just what their plans are for 2023 and how they plan to make it the place to race, moving forward. So that is exciting. You need to talk about the clearance sale that you've got going on because this is your wheelhouse.
Yes. Yeah. So before we go, I feel like I know Brandon always struggles with this. I can There we go. QR code is up. But yeah, as always, head over to our Bracket Life website if you guys are looking for apparel. We have tons of honestly, 3/4 of our apparel right now is actually in the clearance section. We have a lot of new stuff coming out this year. With me not racing, I've obviously, I've not been prepping to race this year, so I've been prepping fun apparel items, and so we have a lot coming up. But so in
Awesome.
turn, we're looking at clearing out a lot of the older stuff that we have. So great chance to grab that before it's gone because it will not be returning. And yeah, head over to the website if you're looking for some t-shirts.
Use some new threads for 2023. This is a good time to get them, right?
That's right.
You're waiting on parts to show up. If you don't have parts, get some new tees. Let's get this rolling. Got to look fresh. You got to look good for the season, right?
Absolutely.
The
But-
old worn out t-shirt look is quickly fading when there's so many great shirts out there now. So
I totally
Right.
agree. We have lots of good stuff coming out for the kids, for women. So we're not just coming out with the unisex stuff. We have lots of really neat things,
actually,
which
that
I'm
reminds
excited
me.
about.
When we get off here, I got to put an order in for Charlotte. I need some more
Mother-
racing t-shirts.
Well, and Mother's Day is coming up.
Yes.
So if you need any ladies' clothes, you need some tumblers for
Yes.
the moms in
I-
your life. Great
I've moved
opportunity.
away from my tumbler. It doesn't actually show up here. I've got a different tumbler from one of my own suppliers because I have faded the tumbler in just doing stupid things is all I did with it. So I will be
So
putting
you
an
need
order
a
in
new
for one of
one.
those. I'm putting an order in for a new one with some t-shirts for Charlotte. I want to be the guy that sends his daughter to school in racing t-shirts. That's my
Yes.
goal. So
I did say that. I was like, we're having a daughter. I was like, our daughter will not wear graphic t-shirts unless it's a racing graphic t-shirt. So
there it is. Yep.
she's gonna be well prepped.
It is.
She's gonna have a million.
Perfect. Well, I think that works. We got
Yeah.
everything tied it up. We hit everything on the list. It was a great show. I think you did a fantastic job. I looking through the comments, lots of
Brandon
great
says
feedback.
it's an awesome show, then it's an awesome show.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
No,
so
I'm super excited that I got to come on. Like I said, I never thought I would be on here, but it was actually kind of fun. So
there you
it
go.
was great having you as a co-host. We'll have
No.
to do it again sometime soon.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we will wrap it up there. If you're watching us online, live at the moment, you can always watch this again. Various podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. Geez, you know this. You should be doing
Yeah,
this
spread
part.
the word.
Yeah.
If you like the show, be sure to subscribe, like us on Instagram, YouTube, the whole deal.
There it is.
But yeah, we appreciate helping us get the word out and sharing what's going on in Canadian bracket racing.
Excellent. Great job. All right. We'll wrap it up there. We're going to see everyone in 2 weeks, April 25th, hitting it back at 8 p.m. Eastern. John O'Neill. Until then, everyone, have a good
great
one.
week.
We'll see ya.
Started the business over 35 years ago. A lot has changed over the years, but one thing still remains the same.
Our passion for fixing cars. With a team of over 12 men and women, they work day in and day out to provide us the best quality service possible.
From light and heavy duty vehicle repairs and maintenance work.
Diagnostics and racing transmissions.
Performance parts and Jeep upgrades.
Automotive detailing.
Used car sales.
And towing through our sister company, AC Towing.
Our team has the knowledge and understanding to solve all your vehicle needs while putting your mind at ease.
Experience the Ogilvie difference.
It's worth the drive.